And we are coming at you live with the first game of our little side game. A lot of stuff has been going on. If all of our imaginary audience who definitely watches these videos has noticed a big gap, well, yeah, a lot of IRL stuff. And that is going to be continuing until probably the middle of this year. So we're running a side game in the meantime. This one's going to be built around everyone being able to kind of drop in and out as necessary, but we will get to some of that later. Couple of disclaimers for me to go over first before we get started. First of all, is to address the one of the factions in this game. So this game is based vaguely around the Peter Pan and Neverland books. So the three main factions are the Lost Boys, the Indians, and the Pirates. So I want to address the Indian faction and the fact that we are A, calling them Indians, and B, the fact that they are not going to be at all culturally accurate or respectful in any way. These are, Indians in the same way that the pirates are pirates. This is, capital P pirates based off of the romanticized version from the golden age of pirates. They're not at all accurate. I could go on for ages about pirates and privateers and the differences between them and letters of marque and, differences between being in the Navy and pirates and all kinds of stuff. But this is just going to be the fun fantasy version. In the same way, the Indian faction is just going to be called Indian. They're not going to be particularly Indian-y. Hopefully everyone is okay with that. If not, let me know. We can talk about it and find a better way to handle it. But is everyone comfortable with that?
I am.
Works for me.
All right, cool.
Yep.
So just wanted to make sure that that disclaimer was out there. Other thing is going to be that this first game is going to be kind of railroady and might feel pretty disempowering. That is not going to be the feel of the game overall, but the intro game kind of has a lot that needs to set up the narrative and the structure of the game. So just know that if you are feeling like you are being railroaded and you're not able to do what you want, that's not what this game is going to be like long term. But for the start of the game, you are all just going to be a bunch of little children. And so might be a little bit less fun initially.
You mean we can't choose to just go back to sleep and not go on the magical ride?
You can, but you'll see what happens if you try that. But I do suggest that one of you tries that, actually. It would be pretty funny. I have thought about that. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So setting an intro for the game and the characters so that we can start character creation. You are all orphans in the this building you can see here that hopefully you're all on the right map. Yeah, looks like it. This is Grelid's house for wayward children. And yes, this is in fact Grelid the Kind. Somehow she's back after being assassinated by the Dragonborn.
Wow.
This is going to be set more or less modern day. Not that it's going to matter much, as soon you will be whisked away to a magical land. You guys know already the kind of basic pitch for the game, so I won't repeat it, but we will be going into more detail as we go on. So first up, we need to create your characters. Start with names, and then you can distribute your stats as you would like. You have 9 dice in total. You can have a minimum of 1 in any given stat, a maximum of 4. So distribute your dice so that you have a total of 9 between 1 and 4 in all of your stats. Does that all make sense so far?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Makes sense to me.
On the left is going to be your stat level. On the right, you're going to use that later. For now, set them both to the same number. As we start playing the game, as you take stress damage, the number on the right can be reduced, that is going to be your effective level. So let's say that you took stress damage and you assigned it to athletics because let's say you decided, according to the way the story is going, I twisted my ankle. So now instead of, say, a 3 in athletics, you have a 2. You would roll 2 instead of the 3, but you can repair that stress damage later. The plan is, as long as everyone thinks this makes sense, that everyone is, we're going to treat the game pretty much as a PG-13-ish kind of thing. It's going to be like George of the Jungle, you know? Nobody dies, they just get really big boo-boos. Unless they're unnamed characters. Unnamed characters can die. So, none of your characters are going to be in any real danger throughout this, and you also are not going to just be able to kill off, like, Captain Hook or other main named characters.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
All right. So background is just orphan children for everybody. Aliases are not going to be important for this game, but if you'd like any nicknames, you can throw one in there. We can worry about descriptions later. This is going to be one of those games where you can kind of develop your character as you're playing, so don't worry about having some big backstory or whatever right now. Mostly you are all just orphaned children at the mercy of Grelid the Kind. Has everyone got their stats assigned?
I have mine assigned.
Yes.
Me too.
You said the left number should equal the right number?
Correct. For now, they should be equal. Later, the right number will indicate the current value as you take stress. So if you had stress that is reducing one of your skills, you would reduce the right number. And then
Not the
as
left
you
number?
spend points later to heal that stress, it can go back up to the original number.
Isn't the right number the denominator?
You are welcome to do it in whatever direction makes the most sense to you. But actually, it is just saying you have X in that skill, and then you have X, then you have Y currently in that skill. So
Okay.
it's some number out of the other. So, for example, you could have 2 out of 3 maximum strength.
Yeah, so the left
What?
number is lower.
However it makes sense to you. It
Why
doesn't matter
is-
as long as you're consistent.
Okay.
Why is everything in attributes and abilities in Spanish?
That is a very good question. I'm not seeing Spanish on anybody's charts.
Oh my god.
I'm
No.
not seeing
Oh,
that.
here.
I'm
No, you can
not
ignore
anyway.
that. You don't need to look
Oh.
over at any of that.
That's for the Spanish people.
See,
Yeah,
and that's
no,
how it
that
has
that
current
doesn't
on the
have
left.
anything that you'll need. Just your main character sheet.
It has
You've-
evidence
okay.
for why I'm correct that the left side is the numerator.
That's the real
That's only
secret.
Spain.
No, like I said, set it up however you want. It just needs to be consistent. I don't even really care because in this system, I won't roll dice a single time. All the dice rolling will be you guys. All right, so now
Nice.
that everyone
Are
has
you gonna be
assigned their
okay?
stats and has a name, next thing to do is going to be your talent. So everyone can have one talent. Your talent is something that you are good at. And when you roll something that is applicable to that talent, you get to roll an extra die. And with skill rolls, extra dice are always good. With stress rolls, extra dice are always bad. Your talent is only going to apply to skill rolls, so I don't even know why I bothered confusing you by explaining that. So, you can pick your talent. I suggest picking something fairly broad because the way the talent works is as long as you can convince me that whatever you're doing is applicable to that talent, then you can get that extra die. So, let's say your talent is something very specific like lock picking. Well, there's not a ton you can do that with that other than picking locks. Maybe you could convince me that you're trying to stab someone in the eye with a lock pick, and so therefore it counts. But if you pick something broad like gymnast, for example, well, now you've got a whole bunch of things you could do, whether that's doing backflips or climbing or running fast or just generally any athletic activity that being a gymnast might help with. You've got a broad variety of options there. So, any questions about talents?
How broad are we allowed to go?
Pretty broad. Like it would be hard for me to not agree to something. So I can't think of anything, but you're welcome to try me and see what I think.
Opposite question. Can we go very specific but super OP?
Also, yes, provisionally. So as long as I don't see a problem with it, I'll let you go for it. But it would have to be something that at least vaguely makes sense. So if you're going for like your your skill is turning into a nuclear bomb, I would have to have a pretty good explanation for how that makes any sense.
I was thinking more along the lines of, can tell Captain Hook to do whatever I want.
No, that would require some real explanation. If you can convince me that makes sense, then yes. But you would have to do some convincing.
Daughter.
That's a talent.
Honestly,
That's a talent.
I would allow it. If you want to be Captain Hook's daughter that somehow ended up back in the real world and it comes out later that you are his daughter, I will allow it.
I'm not gonna do that. I was just playing, but
It'd be pretty funny though.
Now I like that idea. Now I want someone to be Captain Hook's daughter.
Someone needs to do that. If no one else will, I'm gonna.
We could just have like total drama and just have like all of us be related to all of the people.
All Captain Hook's children.
Like one person's Captain Hook's child, and then one person's Peter Pan's child, and one person's an Indian's child. Then the real drama pursues.
Exactly. And that is honestly what this game is about, is interpersonal drama, because it's not a crunchy combat system. It's not about like, how do I build my character so that I can murder all of the innocent goblins.
And
Can I murder
they're
all the
goblins.
All right, has anyone not picked a talent yet?
So if I did, do I need to choose that for my talent, or can I just say that I'm good at sports, or should I just say
You can
I'm
put good at
Captain Hook's
sports and then just somewhere make a note that you are Captain Hook's daughter. If you don't want your skill to be telling Captain Hook what to do, but you do want to be Captain Hook's daughter, those could be separate things.
Yeah, well, I just like would Captain Hook do what his daughter tells him?
That's a
is
good
my
question. And if
And
that's
I'm
your
not
skill,
sure-
then yes. Well, not necessarily. If that's your skill, you get an extra die to convincing him. But to be fair, if you just made the case that you're his daughter and that I should give you an extra die for it anyway, I'd probably give it to you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go for sports.
All right, Thomas, I have a question.
Yes?
Does Rufio exist in this universe?
Yes.
Oh,
Unless that messes something up for you.
No, I was actually going to be Rufio's son, so
All right.
that actually worked.
It's a little weird. I'll allow it, but they are the Lost Boys, not the Lost Men.
Rufio always looked quite a bit older than the rest of the boys, I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, like I said, I'll allow it.
Maybe he had a Peter Pan moment.
You mean like from Hook?
Yes. Went out, had a life, came back, turned back into a boy.
Although in Hook he doesn't turn back into a boy. He just,
But in his mind, he did.
Dun dun dun. Well, we can figure out how all of that drama went down. All right. Anyone else still working on selecting their talent?
Nope.
All right. Then that's basically it. Everyone has characters. So, all of you are huddled around. It's a dreary, cold night in town, in location, at place. And you are all in one of the communal rooms. It's a drab stone, well, not stone, it's a drab brick room. The windows don't seal properly, so even on the best of days, it's cold in here, but especially today with the storm and the wind blowing through, you can feel a cold breeze tearing at the threadbare clothing that Grelid has provided you. You're wearing as many sets of clothes as you can, and you have all decided that it is time for you to get out of this horrid place. And you've heard from the other kids that there's this one boy who can take you away from the orphanage and bring you somewhere with other kids and where you can all live in comfort and warmth. And you've made arrangements through one of his messengers, and that boy is supposed to show up here tonight. So you are all huddled around the bed of the smallest among your number. Who is the smallest of you all?
I don't know.
I'm thinking, I was kind of imagining being very small.
All right. So is that Ted E. Bear?
Yes.
All right. So you're all huddled around Ted's bed, and you have gathered together all of your possessions in the world. You've even skipped dinner for the last few days so that you could save a few provisions for the journey, and you are setting up your little knapsacks. When suddenly, which of you is on lookout?
I'll be on lookout.
All right. So, Horatio, you are on lookout. You've got the door to your room cracked just slightly open and are peeking out nervously when you hear the heavy footsteps of an adult coming up the stairs.
I'm going to quickly whisper to everyone, go, "Oi, there's an adult coming."
All right. Are you just gonna leave all the stuff piled on the bed?
I don't know, man. I'm the lookout. That's not my job. I'm getting to my bunk.
I'm gonna start hiding things.
I start putting.
What's everybody's
stuff
hair
on the
color?
bed. Does it matter?
That's a weird thing to ask
That
when
is,
we're about to be questioned.
that is something that we'll want to establish eventually, is like character looks, but we don't necessarily have to figure that out tonight.
Well, I need to know if somebody has a hair color that I can use to, like, put something at the end of all the stuff and kind of make the stuff into the shape of a person and put a blanket over it.
I've got
Do we
black
have
hair.
that?
I have brown hair.
I have
got
black
both.
hair.
I have black hair with a red-tipped mohawk.
All right, so it's definitely
not
not
you.
going to be Ted, but you could probably find a mop that's been, turned black from all the years of grime.
I was gonna say I have blonde hair, but that sounds kind of lame coming after Anna.
So is there What would I roll to find that? Would it be an academic?
That would be technology.
Ah,
So, what is your what do you have in technology?
I have a 2.
All right, go ahead and roll 2d6 unless you have a skill that would give you a bonus die.
I'm a tinkerer, but I don't think that matters.
I mean, you're trying to jury rig something. I'd give you that.
Nice.
So go ahead and roll 3d6.
I should have just done that in the chat.
Nice. All right, so you take the highest of any of your die, which is a 5. So that means you did good. You are now able to describe the result of your action, and you gain a franchise dice. Or, well, technically, not a franchise dice, but we'll get to it. Doesn't matter right now. So go ahead and describe the results.
What are you doing?
Okay. So since we fortunately piled it up on my bed, I quickly see the mop in the corner of the room that's just left there because no one takes care of anything here, because why waste any effort? It's gonna be terrible either way.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering where that character came from. I'll delete it for you, Jason.
I quickly grab it and I twist the top off, and then lay it at the end, and then I shape all of the stuff into a roughly me shape. Hopefully there's not too much stuff. I supplement any extra I need with pillows or sheets, and then I pull the blanket over it, and then I hide under my bed.
Oh,
All right. And is everyone else jumping in their beds as quickly as they can?
Yeah.
I am.
Yes.
All right. After
I
a few
panic and hide
moments,
under my bed, so there's nobody in my bed.
Okay, so you're just hiding under. That works. So after a few moments, you hear the door creak slowly open, and with a peal of lightning and thunder highlighting the figure through the door in a silhouette, you see the figure of an old lady, Grellid the Kind, comes into the room and starts looking at the beds. And noticing that May is not in her bed, you hear her screech, "Where is May?"
Eep!
That, and a long, almost beclawed hand reaches under your bed and grabs you by the scruff of your neck, Jason, and pulls May out from under the bed. Why were you hiding?
Wah! I was scared.
Oh, scared, are we? Maybe you should go cry to your mother. Oh, wait, you can't, or you wouldn't be here. Now get in your bed.
Okay.
And she unceremoniously throws you against your bed.
Oh gosh.
It's Grellid the Kind, man. I don't know what to say. There's a reason you want out of here. And so then, after looking around the room, you almost feel as if she's more sniffing around for something than actually looking. She turns back around and says, "All right, lights out. And don't make any more noise." And then with a glare and a warning, she slams the door behind her. And then after a few moments, you hear a very similar scene being repeated in the next room over. So you wait for a moment. Eventually, I imagine that Horatio, you go back to your position and peek out the door, see if it's safe.
Yes.
All right. So eventually you see, it seems that she's finished making her rounds and she heads back down to the lower stories.
I'm gonna turn back and say, "It looks like it's going back downstairs."
I'm gonna climb out from underneath my bed and whisper to the group quietly, but maybe a little bit louder than just a super quiet whisper. That was close.
Yeah.
Poor Maymay is probably still just sobbing in bed.
May is happy as a clam. It worked.
Oh.
It worked. I distracted her.
Nice.
You know, as soon as you hit under your bed, for a second I was like, that might be a problem. I'm like, no, wait a minute. She would have found a violation and would be happy with her life. You're a genius.
Indeed, Maymay is a genius. All right,
That's
so
that 4 out of 4 contact in me.
true.
Nice.
So you guys pull the sheet back off of Teddy's bed, or no, we changed it to being David's. So Benjamin's bed, and resume packing your stuff up into small knapsacks. So each of you can pick each of you can pick one toy and 2 tools to bring with you, in addition to a change of clothes and some food. So if you would like to put those in your character sheets, I would put it, if you scroll down, there's a section for characteristics. You can just hit add. Just list your stuff there.
As a quick question, what is there a list of toys of what's there, or is it just?
It is up to you. This is basically a continuation of putting together your characters. You now get to pick 1 tool and 2 toys. Or sorry, the other way around. 1 toy and 2 tools. So your toy could be like a teddy bear, it could be like a squirt gun, it could be a doll, it could be a Barbie, it could be whatever.
This was like modern.
It should be small enough that it could conceivably go in a knapsack. So it should not be like a bicycle.
Yeah.
And it goes into characteristics?
Yes. At least that's where I would put it. Feel free to track your possessions anywhere that makes sense to you. If you want to do it in like the journal tab or the bio and info tab, you could do it there. If you wanted to keep track of it in a separate notebook, that works. It's not going to be super important, so don't worry about it too much. And then tools, it could be like a screwdriver, it could be a brick, it could be a rock. Your toy could be a brick if you want to be really sad about it.
That would be so sad. Sorry, that was just kind of funny.
Okay. It was how many toys and how many tools?
1 toy, 2 tools.
Cool.
And feel free to metagame it as much as you want. If you're like, hey, we're probably going to end up in the jungle and I want a lighter, go for it. I'm not going to complain about it. Again, all you need to do is be able to convince me that it makes sense that you could conceivably have the thing.
So no giant flamethrowers?
No giant flamethrowers. Little flamethrower, though. If you want to have a butane lighter, that's like a little flamethrower. But no, nobody can bring their
times, by the way?
like 18-wheeler with them. Don't think that's gonna fit in a knapsack.
Is this like Victorian times? Like Peter Pan, like classic Peter Pan times?
This is vaguely modern-esque.
Sweet.
So it is a in a world very much like our own kind of thing. All right. Is everyone good with their belongings?
Yep.
Wait, I'm almost done. All right, I'm good.
Cool. All right, so would everyone like to say what they're bringing with them?
I'm taking an old style doll, rope, and a Swiss Army knife.
Nice.
Great minds think alike. Swiss Army knife, roll of twine, and a toy recording device.
Nice.
Ooh.
I'm bringing a mechanical train toy, a multi-tool pocket knife, and a screwdriver with changeable heads.
Man, you guys are not going to be short on on pocket knives. That's for sure.
No, I was actually about to say, I think I might change because I was also going to bring a pocket knife.
But what if we get separated, man? Pocket knives for everybody. It's like the #1 survival tool. We watched Survivor, man.
We
Alright.
watched MacGyver.
I mean, I guess someone should probably bring a lighter, and then we'd be good, but...
Yeah, here, I will change mine out for a lighter. There you go. So I'm bringing a remote control car, a lighter, and paracord.
Nice.
Wow, I was trying to get into like a kid's mind. So I was bringing a wooden gun as my toy, a slingshot, and then a pen as my 2 tools.
That works.
Trying to
All right.
get a little orphan Horatio have.
So now, with all of your belongings in the world wrapped up into small knapsacks, you have what?
I didn't go.
Oh,
I
go
didn't
ahead.
go. I brought a slingshot, a borrowed kitchen pan, and matches.
Nice.
Definitely not stolen.
Yeah, well, you guys aren't exactly making much here in the orphanage, so.
Yeah.
All right, so with all of your worldly possessions gathered together and packed away into knapsacks, you only have to wait. And you don't have long. After maybe 15 or 20 minutes, as you are huddled together, whispering excitedly about what might be coming for you all, you hear a soft tapping on the window. And there's a figure of a boy silhouetted.
There he is.
Oi! Wait, are we waiting for Peter Pan?
You indeed are. You heard that there was a boy who can take you away from here to a place ruled by children where you can eat all that you want and live in warmth and comfort.
That's right.
Horatio, let him in.
I'm gonna tiptoe across the floor just in case, she's listening up, waiting, and I'm gonna open the latch and open the window.
All right. So as you open the window, a sprightly figure comes tumbling forward inside, and you're almost afraid that that he's going to make a loud noise and get you caught, but he seemingly doesn't even touch the ground. And after a few moments, you see that he is in fact floating about a foot off of the ground. And he poses with his hands on his hips and looks at you jauntily and says, "Well, is this the group of boys and girls I was supposed to be meeting this evening?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Too busy just looking at him floating and thinking, incredible.
So he starts lazily rolling sideways, doing somersaults in the air around you, and he laughs to himself. You guys seem surprised. Well, everyone is for the first time. Don't worry about it. But hey, Tink, get in here. And you hear a sound like the chiming of small bells, and a small glowing female figure about 3 inches tall, with small wings like a lace wing, comes zipping around the corner of the window and lands on his shoulder. And he says, "Well, I don't know how much you guys have heard, but well, if you want to get to Neverland, where I live, you're going to need a little bit of pixie dust. So
She's so cute. I want one.
oh well, if you think she's cute, just wait. There's a lot more fairies where I come from. Now all of you line up, post haste, and he strikes a pose like he's saluting military style.
Right, I'm gonna line up.
I was gonna say
Get in
Horatio
line.
was gonna get in line pretty quickly.
Same.
I'm gonna line up too.
All right. So once he's satisfied that you are all lined up, he kind of just gestures toward you, and the fairy flies over your heads, and you can see that she is giving off golden sparkles, which slowly settle down on on each of you. And he says, "All right. Well, now for the hard part. Now you have to believe. You see how I can do this?" And he just kind of like raises even further off the floor and then swoops around a couple of times. It's easy as pie. You just have to remember a little bit of magic fairy dust and believe in yourself. So,
Okay.
I don't think I've ever had pie, sir.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
so
Pretty
you,
sure we were told not to do fairy dust.
dun dun dun. So you guys close your eyes, and he says, "All right, now just believe as hard as you can, and soon you'll be flying through the air, free as a bird." Would anyone like to roll for it? Otherwise, we're just going to assume after a few moments you get it.
I want to roll for it.
All right, anyone who wants to roll
Go
for
ahead,
it, go
roll
ahead
for it.
and roll academics.
I'm gonna roll
He
2.
said it's the highest one, right? The highest dice.
Yeah, you are going to roll however many points you have in academics. Roll that many d6s, and then take the highest result. So
I got a 6.
all right, then that is a full success. Go ahead and describe to me how it goes down, and
So he's gonna close his eyes real tight, reach down to the core of his being and believe, and he's gonna feel a sense of weightlessness. He's gonna open his eyes and go, "Blimey, am I dreaming?"
all right. In Faith, you got a 3, a 1, and a 4.
I think that's Mary.
Oh, that's Mary.
Ah, sorry, it wasn't showing up.
Okay. So with a 4,
Yeah.
I believe that's still a success, though. Yep, fair. So describe a mostly positive outcome of your action, but you must also include a negative or humorous effect.
It takes a while for me to start floating, but I start floating up and then I float all the way up to the roof and tap it slightly.
All right. So
So you,
you
like,
feel as
bump your
though
head on
nothing
the
is
roof?
happening until you hit the roof, and you open your eyes with a start to realize that you are well above the ground. Especially as a kid, you are probably like your height and a half off the ground.
Oh no!
So you begin to fall, but Peter Pan swoops over and grabs you out of the air. And he just laughs. It takes a little bit to get used to it, but don't worry. You'll be flying around like me in no time. And he winks at you and then releases you back into the air.
Can I use my like tinkering, learning how things work to get a better handle on how this whole flying thing works?
Sure, I'll give you an extra die for that.
Just a sec. Two sixes.
Nice.
Nice.
All right, well, you don't get anything for having 2, but that is a 6, so go ahead and describe the result.
So I start to just think about it, and being a man of tinkering and science, and seeing it before my own eyes and knowing it's possible, I just go, if he can do it, I can learn how to do it too. and I think about it, and I begin to float up off the ground. But as I do, I just play a little bit around with how I can move and maneuver in the air. And I start to actually fly around quite gracefully and with skill.
Nice. So Peter Pan looks thoroughly impressed. He says, "Hey, kid, you're not bad. What's your name again?"
Benjamin.
All right, Benjamin, you've got a bright future ahead of you. All right. Well, now that everyone is no longer ground bound, come with me and I will lead you over the first star to the left and on until morning. I think that's it. I did not look that up beforehand.
First
So
star to the right,
Star
and
on
then
the
straight
right.
on till morning.
okay, first star on the right and then straight on till morning.
Wait, we should go to the first star on the left and see where it takes us.
Takes us to Neverland.
Hey, kid,
Where
you're welcome to
everyone's
split from the group
old.
if you want, but I'd be careful. There's some, there's some not so pretty stuff out there if you're not too careful with it. All right, well, anyone who still wants to get out of this dump, follow me. And he zips out the window.
You got it, Mr.
Quite
PP.
vulnerable to flattery.
I follow.
All right. So you guys all follow Peter Pan and you start flying off just into the sky. And soon enough, everything just becomes a vague sensation of movement and lights.
Oh no, Thomas.
Second star to the right, and straight on till morning. We took the wrong star, Peter Pan.
Second star to the right and straight on till morning. Like I said, I literally did not even look that up beforehand. So I was going off of memory of so many years ago. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Either way, so you begin your journey and it soon becomes a confusing mess of lights and sensations, and you really can't tell where you're going other than the fact that you can see Peter Pan ahead of you, and he cautions you all to just focus on him and follow, and everything will be all right. If anyone doesn't do that, well, make yourself a new character right now. So eventually, as you're starting to, your eyelids are starting to droop and you're starting to feel as though you will never reach your destination. Suddenly the inky darkness around you opens up and you find yourselves opening up into a vista. You should all be on a new page now.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Wow.
So you see ahead of you, far below you, a massive series of islands. Yes, you guys can control those. It will become important later. But don't worry about it for now. Don't worry about these 4 little guys on the side for now either. All of that will be explained in due time. So you see a massive series of islands below you, most of them covered in dense jungle. A couple of them are volcanic, and there's a variety of biomes. You can see peeking through the dense jungles these large pyramids in an Aztec style. You also see, spinning slowly in the skies above the islands are these massive clouds, sat atop which appear to be ruins of some sort. And then below, a sparkling blue ocean. And dotted about it, you see a variety of large wooden boats sailing around, many of which seem to be flying pirate flags. And so Peter Pan comes to a stop, hands on hips once again, spins around to face you and all, and then with a broad gesture, he says, "Well, welcome to Neverland." And then he points to one of the ruins floating in the sky above, and he says, "That's where we're headed. That's kind of our main base, our hideout, if you know what I mean." All the other Lost Boys are going to be excited to meet all the newbies. And so he gestures for you to follow him and starts flying off. I'm going to assume all of you follow.
Yeah.
All right. So you follow on, and before long, you reach the base, and you can see It is indeed the ruins, mostly built out of stone, but you can see built kind of on top of the ruins are all of these wooden gangways and other buildings that seem to be additions. They're built kind of haphazardly and often in very impractical ways. Many of them are just like circular slides or monkey bars or other things like that as a means to get around. And flitting about here and there, you can see a number of other boys and girls, mostly younger, even though you do spot a few, there's a variety of ages there. Some of them are certainly looking a bit older. Some of them are certainly in their teens. And Peter Pan brings you to one of the largest buildings. This one is festooned with many colorful pillows and fabrics and just random nonsense with no rhyme or reason other than to be fun, funny, or interesting. And he says, all right, this here's my base. If you want digs like this, you're going to have to really prove yourself. But for now, don't worry about it. And he whistles, and a bunch of the children come skittering around, popping out from different rocks and buildings and underneath clouds, and many of them seem to have been playing a game of hide and seek. In particular, one sidles up fairly close to Peter Pan, and he elbows him and he says, all right, well, here's one name you should probably know. This kid here is Rufio. He's my second in command. So you can see Rufio, one of the older kids. He appears to be a teenager, maybe 14 or 16, somewhere around there. Black hair with red tips. Hint, hint. And he looks a lot more serious than the other boys, but he does smile and says, welcome to the Lost Boys. If you ever need anything, just let me know. I'll try to help you settle in as much as I can.
Oh my gosh, this place is so cool. When do we get to eat?
So Peter Pan laughs and says, actually, we were just getting ready for dinner. And so he says, is food ready, boys? And one of them says, I don't know, Dingbert said that it'd be another 20 minutes or so, or yeah, it sounds about ready to me. Come on, let's all head to the chow hall. So you guys are led to another building, and you find a large ruin with a massive antechamber. The roof is almost entirely missing, so there's plenty of sunlight at this point, and there are a series of haphazardly placed long tables. And on those tables are foods of all descriptions, most of which are far more colorful than feels remotely necessary. And so he says, all right, well, I'll let you to it. I'll find you guys here in a little bit. This evening, once the sun starts going down, we've got a bit of an event. I think you'll enjoy it. And then Peter Pan flies off, and you can see he's, roughhousing or playing with other boys, but you seem to be left to your own devices. Rufio actually does sit down kind of near you guys, though. And all of the food smells great, but none of it looks like food you've ever had before.
Teddy doesn't care. He is eating everything.
All right.
Benjamin is
any
going to
pork?
start sampling.
So as you dig in, you notice one thing seems to be pretty consistent. Almost all of this food seems to be like 90% sugar.
Teddy begins vibrating as he is like shoving his face in every dish of food that is available.
All right. And one of the other boys nearby you says, "Oh, you're getting a head start on giving people pie to the face, eh?" And he grabs a big bowl of some sort of red and green goop and just splooshes it straight into your face.
Teddy immediately laughs and begins throwing food at everyone he sees around him.
So before long, the chant of food, fight, food, fight, food, fight turns into an actual food fight. You guys at least leave them like vaguely stacked in fives. One thing that I ask, I would like them to be able to be counted by fives. All right. So a
Tina
massive
joined-
food fight breaks out. Food is thrown in all directions. Just absolutely wasteful chaos. But some of it ends up in people's mouths. And even the more serious Rufio gets involved, and he seems to be one of the best in the group. He is, pieing more faces than anyone else. The only person who doesn't get involved is Peter Pan, who has kind of drifted off and is now sitting on top of, there's a statue attached into the wall, which is the head of some sort of horned creature. And he has created a makeshift throne for himself, and he is lounging there, one leg crossed over the other, just smiling and chuckling to himself as he watches the pandemonium below.
Tina gets competitive with Rufio.
All right. Would you like to roll athletics?
Let me check. And then I get another dice because I'm good at sports.
Go for it.
So I have 3. We got a 5.
All right. So with a 5, you may describe the result. And you get another little tree.
Oh, cool. Tina starts trying to get more kids than Rufio. And so she starts flinging out small little things and trying to hit everybody in their face.
All right. Are you successful in beating Rufio?
I mean, for a little while, but I think Rufio probably will have something to say about that.
All right. So the food fight goes on, and you guys, for probably about an hour, and you guys have never had more fun in your lives. You've never had more food in your lives. So it is a wonderful experience. But eventually, the sugar crash does finally come, and people seem to start calming down, a few at a time, start slinking away, and you notice absolutely nobody looks like they're planning to clean up any of this. And so eventually, the sun starts to go down. And where have you guys been? Did you slink away earlier in the food fight, or have you been hanging out until the very tail end, trying to get the last few wins in?
I think I left a little bit earlier.
All right.
I was gonna say Horatio
Tina
was
would
a little
stay late.
earlier to kind of explore this floating pyramid.
All right, so Horatio and Benjamin, you guys kind of leave a little bit early and start exploring. And you're able to, I mean, no one is stopping you from doing literally anything. So you guys are able to wander around kind of as you want. There's not too much of interesting around the area. Like I said, these are ruins up in the sky somehow. And everything seems to have, is in a state of disrepair. There are other things bolted on top of it, but it's clear that the Lost Boys are not interested in rebuilding any of this or particularly maintaining it all that well. Eventually, though, Rufio has gathered up anyone who stayed in the food fight from your group and says, all right, well, I should probably take you guys with me. As Peter mentioned earlier, we've got a bit of a thing this evening. You'll see. Anyway, so he brings you guys, and then he finds Horatio and Benjamin, and giving you more or less the same message, he gathers you up as well and brings you with him. And so on the way, he says, well, this will be interesting. Just try to have an open mind. And then he pushes you forward into a large throng of these children who have gathered around. One thing I didn't mention, Tinkerbell is not the only fairy. Various other fairies have been flitting around the group, though you have noticed that Tinkerbell seems to follow Peter Pan pretty much exclusively, while the other fairies seem to be just going about and doing whatever they want, joining in the food fight and other antics. So you gather around the throng. You are now in one of the lowest islands that you had seen floating in the sky. You're actually low enough that you can see a lagoon below you, not really that far, perhaps 20 or 30 feet below you. You can see the jungle as well. Now, as the twilight is descending, the jungle feels denser and more threatening. You can hear the occasional cry of a strange animal or the movement in the canopy above of some large thing shifting the trees around. And occasionally, you feel as though you might spot some strange fish-like creatures in the lagoon below. And so, Peter Pan, once again, having found the most advantageous spot to kind of look down over all of the throng of children below, he says, well, now it's time for another... Great, I've already forgotten the name of the thing. There it is. It's time for another pushing day. As he says this, a full moon is slowly rising above the horizon above him. So he says, well, everybody knows what that means. Well, not everyone. We've got some new faces. I hope you said hi. And then Peter Pan comes down and settling down next to one of the lost boys. He says, all right, time to get started, and shoves the boy off the edge. And the boy loses his balance for a few seconds, but then catches himself soon enough and flies back up onto the island, laughing hysterically. And Rufio leans over to you guys and says, well, I guess I should explain. You see, the fairy dust that lets us fly, well, it only works for kids. Once you get too old, and you see one of the older teens is pushed off the edge and does not catch himself. He goes careening down into the lagoon below and crashes into the water with an audible slap. He says, well, then you're mermaid food. And you see the water below erupt into activity, and the screams of the boy are suddenly cut short.
Oh my god.
Not everyone gets caught by the mermaids. If you're fast, you can get on shore. I don't know, live in the jungle, join the pirates. But there's no place for you in the Lost Boys if you're not, a boy anymore.
May has never seen anyone die before, and she is severely affected by this.
Well,
stress damage.
That's actually good. Give me a 2-die stress roll.
Everyone or just May?
3.
Anyone who feels like they are significantly emotionally affected by what just happened.
How many dice do you roll?
2.
2.
So with
The highest
stress
or
rolls,
lowest?
instead of the highest, you're going to tell me the lowest die that you rolled.
All right, I rolled a 2.
And I rolled a 3.
All right, Jason. So May is going to lose 1 die from an appropriate skill. And Horatio is going to lose 2 dice from an appropriate skill. So
I've
it can
got a
either
quick
be 2
question.
dice from 1 or 1 die from 2.
So, okay, I've got a question. So, like, in my character's backstory, I saw my mom die, right? So it's not the first time I've seen anybody die, but like, it's pretty significant because, like, we went from having fun to like somebody just died. So does that like bring me down to 1 die?
Sure. Go ahead and
Okay.
re-roll it with just 1 die this time.
Because the first, all right, don't let me down, little dice. Hey, 6.
All right, so you are too cool for school. You actually gain 1 point of cool and suffer no
Oh, cool.
stress. So you actually, in this case, somehow this makes you more determined and focused. So there is a spot for cool dice on your sheet. Go ahead and give yourself a 1. Cool dice have a few different uses. You can, if you have a cool die, you can ignore that many stress dice. So you could ignore any future 1 die stress rolls. If you had a 2 die stress
nice.
roll, you would only roll 1, etc. You can also use it to heal stress damage and a few other things, but those are the main ones that you need to worry about initially.
And also, seeing that Maymay is very disturbed, and I assume she's like one of the youngest of us, Horatio's gonna go up and like put his arm around her and kind of like pull her into himself.
That was so scary.
Both
Thanks,
back
buddy.
from the.
Don't worry, you guys. You've got plenty of time. Just practice swimming, or I don't know. I don't make the rules, man. So this is Rufio still. I don't make the rules, man. It's Peter.
Tina's, of course, more mad than anything, but is mostly cool about it.
All right. So the event goes on. Eventually, only a couple more people fall. Only the one of them seems to have been dragged down by the mermaids. The other 2 you see managed to successfully swim to shore, and then looking back with a mixture of fear and anger on their faces, they sprint off into the jungle. And eventually it's over. Even you guys have your turns, but clearly you can fly. You're not too old for it yet, so you're able to catch yourselves. So Peter Pan seems just chuffed as all get out about the whole situation. So he says, "Oh, that was a good pushing day. You know what this puts me in the mood for? I think it's time for a raid. All right, boys, grab your weapons. We're gonna hit the pirates." So Rufio says, "Oh, well, you probably don't really have weapons yet. I mean, there's not a lot. There's whatever we've stolen from the pirates here." And he shows you to, another random ruin. This one is just piled full of sticks and clubs and, there's the occasional dagger or sword, but most of those seem to be claimed before you even get there. So he says, "All right, grab whatever you want."
I guess I'll take a club.
Tina says, I didn't think that we would be fighting people here.
Yeah, well, you know how it is. The pirates want to take what we've got. The Indians want to take what we've got. And, I mean, look around. It's not like most of this stuff that we have was ours to begin with. So, if you want to eat, if you want to have stuff, well, you got to take it from someone who's already got it, right?
I guess that makes sense.
Don't worry. All these big people have more stuff than they need anyway. They won't miss a few things. Plus, it's kind of fun to club a pirate over the head once in a while.
I guess.
All right, so you guys all arm up and are soon flying across the ocean. Peter takes the lead and spotting one of the ships below, he says, "All right, boys, I heard that they have a map. A map which just might lead to some information about," and he moves in conspiratorially, "Blackbeard's treasure. Well, we can't leave that in the pirates' hands, can we, boys? All right. On my command, we're going to go down there and we're going to give them what for. Just grab whatever you can get a hold of, and then we'll be out of here. All right? 3, 2, 1, go." And so there is a pell-mell rush toward the pirate ship. And in all of the hubbub, you guys find yourselves down on the deck of the pirate ship. Are you looking to grab something? Looking for someone to club over the head? What are your priorities?
May is glued to Horatio.
Yeah, Horatio's gonna like stay back from all like the fighting and stuff.
All right.
Teddy's
Yeah.
definitely looking for as many shiny things as he could find.
Okay. And you're able to find some pirate doubloons, shiny and golden, in a chest.
Nice.
Benjamin is gonna look and see if there's anybody nearby the basically captain's quarters part of the ship. You know where that is?
Yeah. So it's going to be toward the back of the ship on the main deck.
Yeah. Also, how sturdy do the windows look?
Most of them are not windows at all. If anything, they're just slats, and they're open so that if something fills with water, the water can get back out again.
Okay.
Tina's staying around the kids and trying to make sure that none of them get stabbed.
All right. So everything turns into pandemonium rather quickly. And then suddenly, when you are least expecting it, several bonfires in the docks around where the ship is moored suddenly burst into flames, and you hear shouting and the sound of gunfire and cannons going off. And you can hear one of the other boys behind you is like, "Oh crap! Ambush! Ambush!" And suddenly everyone is flying away. And you all attempt to do so as well, but it seems that perhaps the fairy dust has worn off on you. You haven't had enough time to really stew in it like the other boys, and you find yourselves grounded. And you see Peter Pan looks behind him, notices you on the deck, and then looks up at someone else further above you and says, "Ah, well, old Hooky, my boy, be gentle with them, they're new." And then flies away.
Wow.
So
He's
you
better.
find yourselves surrounded by a variety of burly looking individuals, both male and female, all dressed as sailors and carrying clubs and swords and pikes and other weapons. And you are roughly shoved together into a group on the deck. And then you can see everyone looks toward the captain's cabin, and the door slowly opens. And you see a tall figure in a long red jacket steps out, and with a silken kerchief, daubs a few beads of sweat from his brow before replacing his large red hat with a massive black feather stuck in the top. And then taking his kerchief, he starts pushing it into the sleeve of his left hand, which you notice ends in a wicked, gleaming hook. And so he steps out and looks and says, "Was this all we were able to get today?" And a slightly older, kind of bumbling looking fellow scuttles out. He's bespectacled and is wearing a kind of like it looks like a sleeping cap. It's basically like a floppy dunce cap. with a small tuft of something at the end of it. And he's holding a ledger and seems to be scribbling something in charcoal. And he says, "Yeah, yes, Captain, this seems to be it, unfortunately." Well. The figure steps toward your group. And you can see flitting just a bit off behind him is another fairy. This one, a dark-haired fairy with red wings. And she is also dressed as a little pirate. And so he
That's so
steps
cute.
up. What was that?
That's so cute.
So he steps up and starts to look you up and down. "Well, my little ones, Peter said you're new. Is that true?"
Benjamin is going to nod shyly.
Horatia's gonna come forward and say, "Well, it seems that we've been sort of shanghaied into this whole operation."
Shanghai, I love the word. Oh, I remember the days. Well, speaking of being shanghaied, well, welcome to the crew. Eventually. First, I think a few days in the brig would do you good. And the other pirates around laugh.
May looks around confused. What's a brig? I don't know what's happening.
Oh, children, so young, so foolish. And he reaches
Benjamin's
down
gonna-
and with his hook, not point first, but the side of it, and lifts your chin, kind of forcing you to look into his eye. "It's a place where we keep naughty little boys and girls until we're sure that we've gotten all the information out of them and they're ready to behave themselves. Are you ready to behave yourself, little girl?"
I always behave.
"Good. Then we won't have to keep you there for long. Now, come along. We wouldn't want this to get nasty, would we?" So he spins around on his heel and starts walking toward the dock. If you don't follow, you are forced to by a variety of the pirates around you. And he leads you off down toward a very large ship. This one is several times the size of the one that you were just on. And leading you onto it and eventually down under the deck, many stories down to where you feel you certainly must be under the water level at this point, into a dingy cabin. Opening, he nods to a pirate who, with a large iron key, unlocks the door, and it swings open with a dusty groan. And you see inside there's a single lamp giving an inconsistent flickering light. Inside there are a variety of iron cages spread around along the wall. Most of them seem empty, but inside of the largest one you do see a small figure. And it is to that largest of the cages which you are led. The same pirate who unlocked the door before unlocks this cage as well. And Captain Hooks gestures toward it. "Toddle on, go ahead."
Benjamin's gonna walk in.
All right. Anyone who does not walk in under their own pretenses is pushed. Now that you're closer, you can see that the figure inside of the cage seems to be a youngish girl, 12, 14 maybe. She is wearing a very simple dress made out of hide and she is wearing a headband with a singular feather poking up in the back. And Captain Hook, after all of you have entered, enters along beside you. He and the fairy both, and they come up to this young girl who is sat in one of the corners, facing the wall away from him. And so Captain Hook approaches behind and says, "Oh, Princess Tiger Lily, I've brought you friends." And she doesn't react. You can see Captain Hook's posture gets stiffer. "Tiger Lily, I've told you before about ignoring me." She continues to just face the wall in silence, and you can see his face starting to turn purple, and he starts to reach toward her neck as if he's going to strangle her. But with a clear effort of will, he stops just short and then reaches over with his hook, and this time, point first, into against the bottom of her chin, he forces her to turn around and face him. "Now, isn't that better? Wouldn't you like to talk yet?" She continues to just face him in silence. "Very well. If you continue to be difficult, well, tomorrow I'll be making things much more unpleasant for you. Luckily for you, though, I have other things to be doing tonight." So he pulls the hook away, and then adjusting his jacket, trying to look nonplussed, he heads out of the room. "Well, don't let her teach you any bad habits. I'll be seeing you in the morning." And he slams the door shut, which is immediately locked behind you all. And you can hear him as he turns to the kind of bumbling older gentleman with the ledger. Says, "Well, let's take a look at that map. Perhaps we'll finally get some clues to the location of Blackbeard's treasure." And finally, looking as though, speaking of other matters, has calmed his mood and made him a little bit happier, he heads out. And the pirate with the keys kind of just looks at you sternly and then turns around and walks out, leaving you all alone in the cage with this young girl who you now know is called, at least by Captain Hook, Tiger Lily.
Benjamin is gonna lean over to whichever person is nearest to him and say, "This reminds me of the washroom closet."
Nah, there's too much
Yeah,
space in here to be the washroom closet. And Horatio is going to walk up to Tiger Lily and say, "Excuse me, how long have you been in here?"
So she does finally react. She turns toward you, and then with the back of her hand, wipes away some blood from the bottom of her chin.
Oh, geez.
And says, "Who are you? Are you lost boys?"
No, we're not lost boys. Well, we are boys and we are lost, but we're not the flying people. You see-
Good. Those wicked children.
We hate those guys.
With good
Yeah.
reason. Well, I've been here for a couple days at this point. Captain Hook is certain that I'll reveal the location of our main settlement, but I can't tell him, otherwise they'll attack. They might even try to bombard it from the coast. They're afraid of the jungle, and they have good reason to be," she says with a bit of a smile.
So who are those lost boys? What are they? What's the deal?
Well, Their leader, Peter Pan, she says with a venom in her voice, I think he's probably the oldest person on the island. He doesn't look like it. He doesn't age.
And why
But
does he push?
only
people
person
off
who
the
might have
cliff?
been here before Peter Pan is Blackbeard, but no one can be certain. Would you like to repeat your
Doesn't he
question now?
Doesn't he push people off cliffs when they get too old? Why would he do that if he's too old?
Well, like I said, he doesn't seem to age. And he doesn't really care about other people, so once they stop being used to him, it's off they go. Half of the pirates and Indians in this place used to be Lost Boys.
Is he just
Well-
stealing children
Yeah,
for his war?
it seems that way. Well, as far as I'm aware, he's the only person who knows how to leave this place or come back.
Are
Did he
you?
take
are
you?
No, I was born here. But you must all be from the real world.
Yeah. I guess.
Well, don't worry. I'm pretty sure my friends are gonna come rescue me pretty soon. I'll tell them to take you with us.
We will.
Yes.
Thank
Well-
you.
As long
Are
as you're
they
not
coming
working
bef-
for Peter Pan.
I don't want to
No.
see him
No, we
ever
hate that
again.
guy.
We hate that guy.
I hope. I hope your friends are coming before tomorrow. It sounds like Mr. Hook is gonna have some bad plans for you.
Yeah. Well, they'll be here soon, I'm sure. I just have to stay brave. And with that, you suddenly hear a thump from somewhere outside. And then the click of the lock on the door to the room, not the cell that you're in, but the room that you were in, and the door slowly creaks open, and you see 3 animal figures: a bear, a leopard, and a tiger come softly padding in on all 4s. And then after a moment, they stand up, and you see it is actually 3 people wearing the skins of said animals. And one of them is carrying a ring of keys. And the one in the leopard mask bounds quickly but silently up to the edge of the cage and goes, "Tiger Lily, Tiger Lily." And she says, I'm here. Good, we're here to get you out. And the other one with the keys starts trying keys until eventually one of them fits. And the leopard individual grabs Tiger Lily by the arm and starts to pull her away when she says, wait, these are my friends. They're not Lost Boys or pirates. You can come with us. So the one in the tiger outfit looks you up and down and says, I don't see any harm in it, I suppose. Come on, all of you, quickly. We need to get out of here now.
Benjamin is gonna follow promptly.
All right. I'm
Horatio's
going to
gonna
assume
be
you all do. So you guys are led out, and they take you along to one of the upper decks, a couple of decks above where you are currently, and then opening a flap in front of a large iron cannon. He gestures for you to climb out, and looking out, you see that there is a couple of canoes that are being kept generally in place by a couple of individuals with paddles. And so climbing down, you are helped into the boats, and the canoes are then quietly and carefully paddled away from the current base. You can see that this seems to be one of these smaller islands detached from the main body of land. And there are a series of wooden buildings and docks and piers all lit up with torches. And you can see pirates wandering around, drinking and singing and enjoying themselves in the evening. But you make your way quietly and carefully past this smaller island onto one of the biggest land masses that you had seen from above, and are led through the forest for some time. Eventually, once you are deep enough into the forest that they seem to think it's safe, they set up camp, and everyone, having been awake at this point for over 48 hours, pretty much immediately collapses. If any of you ask questions, you're more or less shut down with worry about it in the morning. And eventually, the next day, you awaken feeling significantly better, having finally gotten some sleep. And you are given some rations of dried meat and vegetables that have been pressed together into a kind of a cake. It tastes surprisingly good, actually. Especially, it's been a while since you had your sugar feast. And then you once again resume your journey through the jungle. Does anyone strike up a conversation on the way? Or are you focused on just making it through? It is fairly difficult trekking. You're not following set trails, maybe a few game trails here and there.
Horatio's gonna ask, where are we going?
Who are you asking?
I assume the Tiger Lily.
Okay. Well, we're headed back to our main settlement. I think that's where my father should be. He must be very upset to have sent the. And she gestures toward the three who showed up initially and rescued you. To have sent the animal callers after me to rescue me.
Is it?
Or the big cats. We'll go with that. To have sent the big cats after me to rescue me.
There was a bear.
Yeah, he's a leopard now.
Or he's just a really fat cat that looks like a bear.
Maybe.
That's his code name, Fat Cat.
There you go. But just wait until you see. Those pirates may have their tiny little shanty towns, and of course the Lost Boys are just squatting in the ruins of other people. We have actual civilizations, giant pyramids of stone and stone and wood and farmland. It's beautiful.
Benjamin's gonna ask the one who's leading the way, how do you know where you're going?
So he points at his nose, sniffs, and then keeps walking.
Benjamin is now also thoroughly impressed by that and determined to somehow learn this skill.
Starts just sniffing the air.
As we go, yes.
All right.
He's doing that thing with the kid mimicking the adult.
Exactly. So you guys hike through the jungle for a number of hours. You are thoroughly and completely lost in the denseness of the jungle. For much of the time, you can't even see a hint of the sky through the thick canopy above you. Despite that, somehow the panther. The panther guy who's leading the way seems to be able to make his way unerringly through the dense jungle, occasionally having you hide in the roots of trees as some large creatures come thumping by. You never do quite catch a glimpse of what they are, though. And eventually, the forest thins out slightly, and then you come into a more mountainous area, and you can see around you farmland terraced out into the mountains, and several massive Aztec-style pyramids settled in. All kind of slowly leading up to one central pyramid that is taller than all of the others. Before, sometime before you had reached it, the fat cat had kind of zipped off ahead of the rest of the group. And so when you arrive, he and several other individuals are already there waiting for you, including a particularly tall, older middle-aged man wearing a massive headdress of feathers that run all the way down to the ground behind him. And upon seeing him, Tiger Lily sprints forward, "Father!" And the two embrace. And then after their hug, the figure walks up, and the panther guy kind of elbows you and says, "This is Chief Walks-in-Fire. Show deference." And he gets down on one knee.
Benjamin is also going to do that.
I
So
follow
is
suit.
Tina.
So is Horatio.
All right.
May's a little slow, but she's got the right idea.
So Chief Walks-in-Fire walks up to you and looks at you and says, "Welcome. My daughter tells me that you were captured by the pirates."
Yes, sir.
Well, you have come on a much auspicious occasion. Here, come with Chief Walks-in-Fire, and I will show you to my people. And so he starts heading toward the largest of the pyramids. And yeah, as you're going, many curious lookers on come by and look at you. They don't seem too surprised. There's a variety of people. One thing you notice, despite everyone having thus far referred to them as Indians, they don't seem to be truly Indian racially or in terms of culture. It's a wide variety. You see many different skin colors. You see people wearing clothing that is somewhat disparate, though most of it is built off of things that could be hunted or gathered locally. One thing that you notice is that unlike the ruins that the Lost Boys were in, most of the stonework here is actually kept in good repair. Oddly enough, most of it seems to be overgrown and interwoven with roots and trees, but somehow not in a way that appears as though it were damaging the stonework, but more as though it were part of the stonework and supporting these structures. And you see, as you were approaching the massive pyramid, that behind, I forget what they're called. What are those trees from Africa? They're like really bulbous and then kind of like a flat top, and they usually have like pools of water at the top.
I'm thinking banyan tree for some reason.
Let's see, is that? No, not a banyan tree.
Is it
For some reason, I'm thinking Bobo, but I think that's from one of my games.
Is it the what's it called?
Boabab?
Might be Boabab.
It looks like it is an African boabab tree, even though I'm sure I am mispronouncing that. So there is just an enormous baobab tree behind the temple that dwarfs even the temple itself as it stretches out several times taller than any of the other trees in the forest around. And Chief Walks in Fire starts to lead you up the stairs. And it's a lot of stairs. So much so that you actually have to stop for several breaks on the way up. Even the stronger individuals seem to be unable to, and you've gathered quite a few other people have gathered around and started following the procession. The only few individuals who seem to be able to make this walk without having to stop are Chief Walks in Fire and the members of the Big Cats. And so eventually you reach the top of the pyramid. And so Chief Walks in Fire turns around and gesturing to everything around you says, "See here before you all that we have built with the help of the gods and the help of nature and the help of the whispering willow." And when he says that, he turns around to the tree behind you, and you can swear you hear a gentle melody in your heads, somehow coming from the tree. And
If it's in all
so,
heads, how do we know it's coming from the tree?
what?
If it's in all heads, how do we know it's coming from the tree?
Good question. Somehow you just know. And so, he then continues on and says, "But to maintain this great people, the gods demand sacrifice." And at that,
Of course they do.
you
I
could
knew
see,
it.
you could see Princess Tiger Lily. Her visage completely changes, and she looks angry. And she says, "Father, no! Quiet, Tiger Lily. We have spoken of this for many moons already. We will not speak of it again. The gods demand sacrifice." And if any of you start to kind of put together what's happening and start to try and scoot out of this situation, you are suddenly grabbed by strong hands of the warriors around you.
Yeah, that's me. That's Hina. She tried to escape.
Yeah. But yeah, you are grabbed and held in place. So Tiger Lily, looking angry and fuming for a few moments, and then her expression shifts to sadness, and then finally she has a look of determination, and then starts running down the stairs of the temple far faster than is advisable.
Mhm.
But Chief Walks in Fire ignores her and gesturing toward the warriors around him. Any of you who have not already been grabbed are now grabbed and placed lying down on a number of stone altars spread around the very top of the pyramid. And Chief Walks in Fire reaches down into his belt and pulls out a large obsidian knife and starts to chant in a strange language. And despite
just wishes Tulio and Miguel got here first.
So despite any protestations or cries for help from any of you, they are summarily ignored. And after some time of chanting, who would be first? Which of you is the oldest, probably?
I was thinking Tina was probably like 12 or 11.
All right. So he approaches Tina first, and lifting the knife high in the air, he says, "The gods demand blood, and blood they shall have." And just as he is about to bring the knife down, Suddenly, there is a loud voice that you all hear. Once again, somehow you feel as though it's coming from the tree. And the voice in all of your mind says, "Stop!" It's a female voice, by the way. "Stop!" And
There's a goat over there.
Chief walks in fire, stops halfway down. And then he says, "But the gods demand." And then the voice says, "No, not these. These children have something more. These children are special, and you shall not touch them." And there's a large breeze comes wafting from the direction of the tree, almost knocking down the chief. And then suddenly, everything goes black for all of you. And then you hear a voice, and you see ahead of you, as you are standing in inky darkness, you see a light and a voice, and it is approaching you, and it says, "Here, come here, this way."
Benjamin is going to follow. Benjamin does not want to be here anymore.
Yep, Tina's the same.
All right.
What?
So, following the voice and the light in the darkness, you stumble forward for only a few moments when suddenly you feel a sense of vertigo and a sensation on your skin as though you were bathing in carbonated water. This prickling, tingling sensation. And then suddenly you find yourselves falling forward into a soft mass of vegetation. And you see ahead of you a dark-skinned fairy with pale white wings glowing like a full moon. She has blue hair and golden eyes. And she says, "Oh, thank goodness. I got you out in time. I suppose you're probably wondering where you are. Well, in addition to the confusion of being in Neverland in the first place."
Benjamin, being confused and disoriented from the fall, just momentarily asks, "Are you my fairy godmother?"
Almost. You can certainly think of me as being your fairy godmother for now.
More importantly, are you going to require blood or sacrifice or some sort of maiming or harming of any of us?
No. I'm here to help you all. I'm Alara. You see, well, you're now in the dream time. And she gestures around, and you see that you are now in a strange twilight forest. Everything is lit with these tendrils of bioluminescence that seem to be coming from various creatures and fauna throughout the area. Insects are flitting about, some even larger than the fairies, some smaller. Occasional animals will move in the forest around you. And Horatio, you feel a weight drop onto your shoulder, and you see what looks like a lemur, except instead of the white sections, it has glowing purple. And it seems it drops onto your shoulder and starts patting your hair a couple of times, and then starts trying to put some sort of glowing round object into your mouth.
What? I'm gonna open my mouth to ask what it is, but I'm sure that's going to like give it the opportunity to put whatever it is in my mouth.
That is exactly what happened. So it's popped into your mouth, and it seems to be some sort of sweet, tangy fruit. It tastes great. Honestly, it tastes better than the Lost Boys food, just in that it's not so overwhelmingly sweet. It's actually balanced. And so Alara the fairy, she just laughs and says, "Shoo, shoo," and shoos off the lemur. Don't worry, they're harmless. They're just a little bit overly friendly sometimes. But that was just a grape he was feeding you. Well, probably not like any grape you've ever had, but don't worry, they're quite good.
Great.
So she then kind of gestures behind her, and you can see that you are now in front of a massive temple, even bigger than the pyramid that you just climbed. This one extending up in above the canopy above you. And she says, "Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Well, you probably heard the Whispering Willow saying that you guys were special, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's true. Ever since you came here to Neverland, we could sense your energy here. And, well, you seem to have some sort of a connection to the Temple of Elements. Here, I'll show you. Come inside with me." And so she'll start heading in toward one of the doors into the temple.
Benjamin will follow.
I follow.
So will I.
Yes.
I'm in.
I'm going to take Mimi and put my arm around her. Draw her close, because despite, the innocent protestations of this fairy, Horatio's not sold. So
Fair.
I mean,
So
we've been
far-
betrayed like twice, right?
Right? Yeah, no, so far everything has turned out pretty badly.
So far, the only people here that Benjamin is sure doesn't suck and or want to kill him is the pirates. And even then, that's questionable.
Yeah, no, they were definitely going to get around to it.
they were getting there.
All right. So she leads you inside through various chambers. The interior is somehow lit. Everything seems to have this kind of golden hour, gentle light applied to it. And it's not truly from any of the bioluminescence. Those add light to the area, but it's almost as though the air itself has light. So even as you descend into the interior of the temple, there is plenty of light for you to see where you're going. And you can see the temple is in some state of disrepair, but still holding up pretty steadily. And as you're walking, Alara talks. Well, to explain a few things, this is the dream time. It's like the magical essence behind Neverland. And, well, without it, there would be no Neverland. And me and the other guardians of the dream time protect it as best we can. But recently, you've probably already heard of Blackbeard's treasure at this point.
Yeah.
Well, we're not entirely
What is it?
certain what it is, but it seems that it either is a corrupt artifact or has been corrupted. It's been damaging the dream time. And, well, if it's left to its own devices, eventually the Dreamtime will be destroyed and Neverland along with it. Everyone there in Neverland is hunting it down, seeking power, riches, whatever it is that they want. Well, we need to find it before any of them can and bring it here. And as she says that, you guys enter what seems to be a massive central chamber in the center of the pyramid. And on each of the four corners are these huge statues, which seem to represent the elements fire, water, earth, and wind. And then in the very center is a blue well. And as you approach it, you can feel some energy being drawn out from you and into this well in the center. That is these little trees that you've been earning. And so as these motes of blue energy exit your bodies and are drawn into the well, she says, "Oh my, don't worry, that's normal. You see, the temple, like I said, it seems to have a connection with you, and it's drawing the mana from your bodies. Mana can be earned from all kinds of things, succeeding in your goals, defeating enemies, making friends, anything like that, making progress. And, well, right now, this is unaspected mana, meaning that it is not attached to any of the 4 elements. As it is drawn into the well, though, you'll be able to choose how you want it to be used and can assign it to any of these 4 elements. And she points to the statue, which appears to be, representing flames. That there is for fire mana. Fire represents heat, energy, action, passion. Any mana that you transfer over to fire, you can then use later to cast magics and to enhance yourself in terms of your athletic skills. And then she gestures over toward the statue representing water. This one is for water mana. Water represents movement, emotions, time, and knowledge. As you assign mana to that quadrant of the temple, you'll be able to then use it to improve any of your academic or mental abilities. Down here, and she gestures toward the earth statue. This one is for earth mana. Earth is stable, strong, shapeable. Generally, it is used for making tools and things like that. Any of your technology abilities, your tool use, those sorts of things you can enhance. And then finally, over here, and she gestures toward the statue representing wind. This is for wind mana. Now, wind is flexible, capricious, and ever-moving, constantly changing. It is one of the most useful and yet the most frustrating of all of the elements. It can be used to enhance yourself in any way that you want, but at a risk. So for anyone who's played Inspectors before, this is going to be your athletics is the equivalent of the gym card. The water is the equivalent of your library card. The earth is the equivalent of your credit card, and the wind is the equivalent of the bank. If you remember, when you roll bank dice, you roll them separately, and there's a great deal of variation. If you get high results, you could get a success plus add even more mana back. But on a 2, you lose the die and an additional die. On a 1, you lose all of your mana that has been stored in the Wind Temple. So there's a risk, but that added flexibility is nice. So she says, now that you're here in the dream time, you'll actually be able to enter and exit, not exactly at will. The dream time kind of has a mind of its own, especially when it comes to drawing you back, as the dream time has been corrupted by Blackbeard's treasures. It works and fits and starts. You might be in the middle of doing something important and then poof, you're right back here. So now you have the in-game explanation of if anyone can't make it to any given session, you're just back in the dream time.
Nice.
Nice. Tinfoil.
Good old dream time.
But this must all be so overwhelming. I can only imagine how much you've been through so far today. Here, let me take you to somewhere more comfortable. You can meet the rest of the Guardians of the Dreamtime, and we can answer any questions that you have. And try to relax. I promise we don't mean you any ill will.
On the way there, Benjamin, with a brightness in his eyes after hearing that speech, is going to ask, what does magic feel like?
Well, it can feel like anything, because magic can be anything. I mean, try to focus really hard on, I don't know, shooting a ball of light from your fingers.
Benjamin is gonna...
So, roll academics.
I'm gonna roll academics for this. hold on. Okay. He's gonna try and picture it very clearly. Oh, I got a 6.
Noise. All right. So you feel as though mana is flooding back into your body, and describe your success.
Feeling the mana flooding back and taking very careful, like paying very careful attention to what it feels like and how he might visualize it best, whether it's as a liquid or an air or maybe just a shine or a heat. I don't know exactly how it is, but he's paying very careful attention to that so he can understand what mana is and where it is and how to move it around. He'll direct it towards a small point at the end of his finger, and he'll imagine almost like the shine. You know when a reflective surface will catch the light and it'll just shine it to a bit, like when your phone catches it?
Mm-hmm.
I'll just imagine kind of like that, but just floating at the front of his fingertip.
All right. And you will it into existence, flickering and floating across the tip of your fingertip. There,
So-
see?
Benjamin's eyes wide and almost shaking with excitement only has one word. Awesome.
All right. So you guys are led a short distance away from the temple into an area which seems to be some sort of fairy garden. You can see little houses in toadstools and built into the sides of the trees and, hanging off of the tips of vines like little bird cages. And we will wrap up here for the day. So let's go ahead and end it like always. David, what did Benjamin learn?
Benjamin learned that this is his new favorite place and that magic is the best thing ever.
Yeah, and you've only begun to learn. All right. Faith, what has Alex learned?
Alex has learned not to trust anyone here.
You have to trust someone.
No one but the group of kids.
Fair enough. No, there definitely
But no,
seem to be
I've
some
been
people
around.
who are not out there for your best interests, but perhaps others are. Tiger Lily seems to have gone after, saving you. Rufio didn't seem all bad.
Yeah, but they didn't save us either.
Yeah. But perhaps they are people that you could approach in the future. All right. Jason, what has Maymay learned?
Maymay learned about her own mortality.
Yeah, not the most fun thing.
But luckily, she was a little bit too young to understand what was going on with the pirates or the Indians, so she's kind of doing better.
Well, and you didn't necessarily see the person who fell in with the mermaids die. They might be okay. You don't know. It was off camera.
Well, it was on her camera.
All right. Mary, what has Tina learned?
That in order to survive here, she's going to need to become more powerful.
Well, lucky for you. I think that's in the cards. All right. What about Anna? What has Teddy learned?
Teddy learned that he likes food, and he's very excited because it seems like a lot of people here actually have food unlike the orphanage.
Yeah. Truth. All right. Last but not least, unless I manage to forget someone again, what has Horatio learned, Abe?
Horatio learned that sometimes, even though people bring you, sometimes maybe have caution when doing pixie dust.
Yeah.
Maybe don't take pixie dust from every stranger.
Fair enough. To be fair, though, is this really worse than the orphanage?
I would say
I mean,
yes.
no one tried to murder me and my pals at the orphanage. That I know of, outright.
Yeah,
They weren't murdering
Grellin wasn't
my body.
murdering anyone the quick way, at least.
Yeah. Or the unusual way.
All right. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this game. I know I did, and I will see you all at the next one. Bye!